I'm that bull in the hood. New lamb truck got the bull in the hood. Black and red looking like the bulls hit the hood. 23s, oh, they got the bull sitting good. This game 6, this can't miss. Shooting my shot, wrist hang swish.
What time is it? Game time!
Welcome back, Bulls Nation, to another episode of the Nothing But Bull podcast. I'm your host, Derek, and as always, I'm here with my main man, Just B. Justin, what's going on?
Nothing much. I'm back visiting family in the Broward County area, which means that my belly is filled with Hawaiian sweet rolls. That's always a good thing.
And of course, Melissa, how's it going?
What's good, everybody? How y'all doing? I don't have a belly full of Hawaiian sweet rolls. I'm actually kind of hungry, but we'll get to that after we record.
Well, see, I just gave you something that you could think about later on. You see, we're on the same wavelength. Everybody's belly should be filled with Hawaiian sweet rolls. That's always a good thing.
You're not lying. Those are really good.
Yeah.
Have you had those, Derek?
Yeah, I've had them. They are good, but we are not opening this podcast on a good note. Well, it's the first podcast of Jordan year 2023, so happy new year to all of our listeners. We're supposed to have Andre Drummond. He's not going to be joining us, and who could blame him after last night? We got completely hoed by the referees yet again for the third game this season. It came down, last 2-minute report states that something should have been called where we should have won the game. Donovan Mitchell scored 71 points on us for a franchise record for points allowed by a single player. It comes with a huge asterisk because the game should not have went to overtime and he should not have had 71 points. He shouldn't even got as many points as he scored in the fourth quarter, but third quarter referees decided if you breathed on the guy, it was a foul, and they sent him to the free throw line. Tony,
Yeah.
brothers.
Everything went downhill after the first half. The first half, though, was I was geeked. The first half was like the best basketball I've seen from the Bulls on both ends. Like almost all season, they were doing great. They locked him up defensively. Donovan only had 16 at the half, and then lots of discrepancies with the calls. At least from, I mean, we all feel pretty much the same about that when the second half started. Everything, the momentum changed, the tempo of the game changed, and they were playing defense differently. They were much more apprehensive about being anywhere near him, and he just did what he did, got to the line, and it was unfortunate, but they just played completely differently after the first half. Started getting all these ticky-tack fouls.
Yeah, these last 2-minute reports, before the last 2-minute reports existed, the one thing that used to always get on my nerves with the NBA, just recently, it's just giving teams double technicals. We're not gonna try to solve anything. So both of y'all are just gonna get a double technical. We're not gonna take sides. What is the point of that? And now, with this last 2-minute report, it just makes me more irritated with the way the NBA chooses to handle problems, or I should say, not handle problems. I look at the last 2-minute report, trying to apply it in real world situations. Suppose you were mugged right in front of the police, and no one gets arrested, and then the next day the police station sends you a little note saying, "Oh, hey, you know what? We reviewed the cameras, and the cameras did show that you did get mugged. Oh, and by the way, they didn't just take your wallet; they stole your cell phone too." What is the purpose of this 2-minute report? I don't understand. Are they going to attach officials' names to it? Is there going to be some type of thing where officials eventually start to get fined? Are they going to not be able to officiate certain games? Are they going to be suspended? I don't know. But going back to that game, I just it really like that performance just highlighted like certain things that I just can't wrap my head around. And I mentioned this before when I was talking to somebody earlier. I like seeing players be great. I think all of us as sports fans want to see greatness, no matter what is happening. Even if it's for somebody who's on an opposing team, we root for greatness, because we're fans of the NBA. But last night, you saw a good player who was helped to be great. And by that, I mean, when I looked at that game, a lot of people lost sight of the fact of how strong of a game DeMar DeRozan had. Had 44 points, and not just 44 points. Had I think it was like 4 assists, 3 rebounds, 4 steals, and a block. And when you take that and you compare it to what was happening with Donovan, Donovan had 27 more points than DeMar. You can't tell me that anything that Donovan was doing on the court was worthy of 27 more points. Like, that just does not make any sense whatsoever. And I remember, I don't know if you all saw the message that I sent you about calling into that station earlier today, where I was talking about what happened with that 71-point performance. And they were like, oh, Mitchell, he's an aggressive player. He is an aggressive player, but he only goes to the line on average 6 times per game. A 6'1" point guard getting to the line 25 times in a game, something just does not add up. And then you have that 2-minute report, and as Melissa brought out, the Bulls were playing excellent defense throughout the whole entire game. And they basically were punished for playing that same defense that they established in the first half. They were punished in the second half. Totally changed the complexion of the game, and the Bulls ended up with an L. So it was a disappointing game to watch. It was a fun game to watch in certain instances, but it was disappointing.
Yeah, I tweeted it out when Tony Brothers gave Donovan Mitchell that technical because he was clapping at him. That was him reminding Tony Brothers that he had money on the Cavs. And that's when the officiating changed. We couldn't play defense anymore because every trip the Cavs took on the offensive side resulted in Donovan Mitchell going to the foul line. In that third quarter, it was like every time they had the ball, the foul was called. They called a foul when the guy ran into Vooch and called it an illegal screen when Vooch wasn't even setting the screen. The guy just ran into him. Called 2 lane violations on Caruso on a Donovan Mitchell free throw to allow him 4 chances to make a shot. But they missed the lane violation on Mitchell that would have been game over for them. Now, a lot of people would what's the point of this last 2-minute report? I know the point of it, and a lot of people don't know, is the report is used to accumulate points for the referees' crews getting calls wrong. And once they get so many points accrued, they're disqualified from officiating the playoffs. A lot of people don't know that. And it's who cares? Because you're not helping the team that was wrong in this. It's they're not going to put the points back on us and give us the win. So people don't even really care about that. I guess the referees get paid more during the playoffs, which is an incentive to them to try to get things right. But I've never seen an official be disqualified from refereeing the playoffs from this 2-minute report. So is that even upheld?
Yeah, I didn't know anything about I'm glad you mentioned that because I did not know that. But that's punishing someone who it would be a punishment if they were relying on those game checks. If you're not relying on those game checks during the playoff time, what does that really do? That's not a punishment. You're just not going to be able to enjoy that extra money. at some point, and like I'm not a bettor, I don't put any money on anything, but like a lot of these games, people are putting money on these games. It's people's livelihoods. Like there's a lot that gets tied into these wins and these losses, not just for the teams, for the players, the coaching staff, fans who are like heavily involved in the game. Like I look at this and I'm like, I don't want to see like the NBA turn into like the type of organization like with MLB where like the umpires take on more importance than or just as much importance or and coverage as the overall talent that's going on in the game. But like a lot of those calls, it just overshadowed a lot of good basketball that was taking place. And I'm fine if you want to like call fouls for Mitchell, like if you want to like do that, fine. Just call it both ways. There were plenty of times where the Bulls were going to the basket, they were getting hammered. I know like there were several calls where DeMar and Zach were going to the basket and they did not get the calls. And like I look at that, and of course, there were certain times throughout the game that Mitchell was making some fantastic plays. Like you can't take that away from him. He almost had a triple double, scoring 71 points. That's an accomplishment. But that man was helped to be great last night. That's all I'm saying. Like I don't want to see good players being helped and like made into something that they're not. And Donovan Mitchell is a good player for the NBA. They turned that man into like David Robinson, like, yeah, like I don't know what else to say. Like he's breaking records like that Wilt Chamberlain set against the Bulls apparently. Like no, he does not belong up there. And I'm not gonna like gloss over the fact of what the Bulls have been doing previously with their defensive effort. That's not what like this show is about. But the Bulls played solid defense in that first half. They played solid defense in the second half, and they got punished for playing the right way.
Yeah, guy trips over Alex Caruso's foot, and they call a 6 foul on Caruso, and he's gone. Poor guy tripping over his foot, just like the legal screen that Vooch didn't set. DeMar was getting hammered, as you said, no call. It was blatant that it was a one-sided officiating last night. And it's like it's pretty much the most blatant one-sided officiating I've ever seen watching the NBA. You can't tell me that those refs didn't have money on the Cavs. That's how one-sided it was. It made absolutely no sense. And this comes off of the game before playing the Cavs. They missed the foul on DeMar's game winner, and we don't win that one. And you could see on that shot, DeMar got fouled. He falls on the ground. He sits and he looks and he just lets it go because it's like, whatever, it's over. They didn't call it. And there's nothing he could do at that point. So, overtime came and the Bulls didn't play great because they're already demoralized because the game should have been over. They should have won the second time against the same team, and the refs took it away again.
It's super disheartening. I think this was like the lowest we've held an opponent to in the first half too. I think we held them to 47 this time around in the first half, and we all know we're pretty good at giving up points, a lot more points than that in the first half. But it's just disheartening because they really were playing lights out on defense too. But I am of the opinion that I don't want to blame it all on the refs. We do have to be more mentally tough, regardless of like what's happening and how obvious it is with the refs. It was comical. All of the fouls that were getting called, you couldn't even play through an entire play. It was like call after call after call in the third quarter. It was like laughable. It was laughable. But in the same token, like we're professionals, they do need to keep their head in the game. But it's I understand why, but at the same time, like you still have to keep your head in the game somehow. You got to find a way, and that I think has to come a lot more from leadership from DeMar, from Zach, from Vooch, or from whoever, from Billy. I don't want to blame it on the refs, but it definitely changed the entire momentum of the game for sure, hands down, without a doubt. And again, I understand why it happened, and I understand why they were so demoralized. I get it, but we have to be professional. We have to take some pride in the game too. 71 points is like, it is a bit ridiculous. And yes, we shouldn't have gone into overtime in the first place. And it is harder when you're playing like 5-on-8 with the refs, but we have games we got to win here, and it stinks. We lost like what, probably 3 to 4 games just off of like poor officiating, but it's a difference. It's going to make all the difference of being like, we should be at 500 or above 500 if those games didn't occur where the officiating just affected the outcomes. But you got to do what you got to do. At the end of the day, you have to just keep pushing. That's my opinion on it.
I agree with you to an extent. Yeah, like you do, like the Bulls do have to be more mentally tough. And to their credit, you know, the past couple of games, even like at points throughout the year, I don't even want to say the past couple of games, at points throughout the year, there have been situations where the Bulls have fought back, which is something that they have not done in years past, even in last year. The Bulls have gotten better at fighting back against teams and making, you know, games, you know, just a lot more spirited, you know, and giving a lot better effort. However, I take everything that you were saying and I use that to look at the fact that Billy Donovan got a tech. If Billy got a tech, you know something was going on. Something had been brewing. And, you know, it has to be frustrating, you know, because like we all say like these guys should be professional, and they are professionals, and, you know, they need to like fight through adversity. But when you are giving your all, when you were locked in, the Bulls didn't just do a good job of just shutting down the Cavs' first option. They shut down the second and the third option on several plays throughout that first half. And they were trying to continue that in the second half. But for Donovan to like get a tech, something that we have been talking about for a while, like, Billy, you need to like stand up for your players. It got to that point where it just, you know, everything just came to a head, you know, and I give Billy a lot of credit because we have been looking for him to show some type of emotion, get up on these officials, because no matter what people say, NBA is a subjective sport. You know, people can be like, you know, it doesn't matter that much that you're complaining to officials. It does. Human nature, you need to put thoughts into people's brains in order for them to actually like, you know, look at certain plays and adjust accordingly. But like, you know, if I was Billy, like this was like, I'm gonna show my butt type of game. Like after the game during presser, like if I was Billy, I would have showed up with like a paper shredder. Once they asked me what the paper shredder was for, I would have told them, I'm just waiting for the 2-minute report to come out, because that's what I'm going to do with that 2-minute report. I'm going to shred it because y'all already know what's going to be on that 2-minute report. But, you know, one of the things that I will point out is that the good thing about the Bulls facing this adversity and them fighting back is that they are seeing that the type of effort that they need to show on a nightly basis. And throughout the year, you know, this team has been coming out of games, starting off slow, not giving as much effort as they needed along the defensive front, not running plays accordingly, like how Billy apparently wants to run them. They need to see that you got to give that effort on a nightly basis, because you can live with the result. I know that people play the results, but it's more the process. Because if the Bulls have been winning some of these games but not correcting anything, you would have had even bigger issues going on, because, you know, you'd be having success and you wouldn't be correcting the things that needed to be corrected in order for this team to move forward. But I like the fact that the Bulls have been showing more effort and, you know, just showing more mental toughness. It's something that they are starting to break out of. There are good things that have happened in these past couple of games. Got to give them some credit for that. But yeah, it's hard to stay professional and in the moment when you're facing, like you said, 8-on-5 basketball like they did last night.
Unfortunately, though, that's what separates the winners from everybody else, though. Unfortunately, and I trust me, I agree with you. I tweeted about that too, about Billy. Like that was like probably my favorite part of the whole season with Billy is that I saw him get that bad, and that after the during the presser, he was actually willing to take a fine for it. The fact that we saw him get a T, never seen that type of emotion from him ever, and I love that. That made me so happy. Like that was like such a bright spot for me because look at him fighting for his team, and that's a good example that he's setting. That like, hey, I got your back. But at the same time, I don't know. Of course, it is human nature to be demoralized, and you have to understand like the human part of it. But that's what separates a winning team, unfortunately, from somebody that's a team that will be defeated by exterior forces. You can only control what you can control at a certain point. You know, that's how I feel about that.
Yeah, but they couldn't control the games because the ref controlled the game. So it's like, yeah, they're professionals, but the refs are supposed to be professionals too. And they were clearly worried about their money line on the bets. Like, it made absolutely no sense. And it's nothing that can justify how the refs did that. I don't care how the Bulls responded to it because you can't win if the referee is not going to allow you to win. There's really nothing that they could have done. And, I'm the leader of the Fire Billy movement. And people were blaming Billy last night. And I'm out there defending Billy like, no, it was not Billy's fault. Billy was pissed. Billy got a tech. Billy's rotations didn't suck last night. That last free throw, he put Andre Drummond in. You put your best rebounders in to secure that rebound. The presser, he Billy really came off as a bit of an asshole in the presser because he's like, we know what's on that last 2-minute report. They're going to say it's a lane violation. And what is that, a well sorry? He said, hey, if I'm wrong, I'll apologize, but I know it's on there. And it came out and it's on there. So, they're going to fine him because Adam Silver does not like people talking about his precious little referees. Because let's face it, Adam Silver only cares about the money as well. So, no, it was a FU to the Bulls, and I'm sending the FU right back to the league. Because that was bullshit.
I didn't hear Billy come out and say like he came out and that's what he said.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That's why
if he said it, good for him.
He's taking.
That's what he said.
He's taking a fine for it.
He's definitely getting fined.
Good for him. I hope he brought the checkbook and like started writing out the fine, writing out the amount, like right in front of the reporters. Like, and I don't want like, because a lot of people are like, talking about Billy, and a lot of people are talking about Pat, and Pat should have done this, he should have grabbed the rebound. I don't want this to get into the blame the Bulls show. And I know, like, I don't want it to come off as that's what I think that you were doing, Melissa, because I don't. You brought in some good points about like they have to be mentally tough. You have to fight through adversity. That is just what good teams do, like you were saying. But the refs last night were on one, and that's a game it should not have. It shouldn't even gotten to that point. Like the game like just started to get out of hand once that third quarter started. Even like there were parts in the second quarter where like you could see like them towards the end, like, okay, we got to switch things up. I don't know if like they thought like people were going to be offended if the Bulls came out of a win out of Cleveland, but I don't want to like diminish a lot of the good things that we saw. Like there are times to complain about what the Bulls' effort was. There were times to complain about like their actions, their sets. when they first played Cleveland, not last night, but the game prior to that, I looked at this game and I was like, oh, you know what? Mobley's out, Kevin Love is in. This should be a game that P will really eat, because even though Kevin Love is 34, he can play, but like just with athleticism alone, I was like, P will should get a good amount of points, a good amount of opportunities here. And the first couple of plays we saw, it was like the first 3 plays, Pat comes out, puts up 6 points right away. And then all of a sudden the Bulls like just decided, okay, that was working. Let's stop doing that. You know, those are the types of things that, yes, the Bulls do deserve, you know, to have, you know, people getting on them and complaining, like, what are you doing? And I realize also people, you know, a team is not going to run options necessarily for their fourth option. But there are times where I'm like, the Bulls need to do a better job of finding mismatches and finding ways that they could get other guys involved offensively so that this thing works more efficiently. There's plenty of times that we can like lament, hey, P. Will, you got to rebound more. Everybody has to rebound more. Don't just look at the ball, run to the ball. But last night wasn't one of those games. Like the Bulls did what they were supposed to do. They should have come out of that game with a W. And again, I don't mind Donovan putting up points. I mind other guys not getting calls too, because Donovan made some excellent plays, but like you could see once that third quarter began, it was like, nope, no matter what you guys do, go to the basket, not going to call a foul. Oh, you put some heavy pressure on Donovan, not, we're going to call fouls for that. Like, just call it both ways. I think that that's what all of the fans want to see. Just call the game both ways.
Exactly. Like I said, they called 2 lane violations on Caruso, but you missed the one on Donovan that allowed him to send it to overtime. And yeah, you can blame Pat for not boxing him out. Sure, he missed that assignment. Look at the replay again and see if that would have even mattered. Because if he boxed Donovan out, it looked like Robin Lopez would have got that rebound anyway.
Yeah.
So not really going to put that on Pat, because if they called the lane violation, it wouldn't happen. If they called the travel on Jared Allen when he took 6 steps under the basket before that, we wouldn't even get to that point.
That was 12 seconds left.
Yeah, with 12 seconds left, it would have been over there. They wouldn't even mattered with those free throws. It's nothing we could have did to win, because the refs would not let us. We were up, what, 20, 21, 18, what, at the half?
The half, yep.
And then foul. Stacy on commentary seems to say, yo, this is comical at this point. He said, be careful because they're going to call another foul in a minute. You know it's bad. When you got Billy Donovan heated, Stacy's heated on commentary during the game. It's nothing they can do. And now we're what, 16 and 21? When we should be 19, 18? And we have to play the Nets next.
Shorthanded. Because Javonte is not going to play in that game.
Yeah, Javonte's out. Tony Bradley's out, but he's not getting play anyway, so who cares?
Oh, Tony Bradley's definitely going to lose that one.
We need his 3-point shooting. Here, we got to play it. Kevin Durant and the Nets, who, after firing their coach, have just been great.
Yeah, they'll be different this time around than the last time we played them. Different situation. I know. I just want us to work on our offensive rebounds too. I am not arguing whatsoever that game totally stunk with the officiating, but we do have to fix our offensive rebounds also. I just also wish that we weren't shooting threes in overtime, but shouldn't have got there in the first place is the point. But again, just
Yeah, this it was what I think Donovan Mitchell opened with a three, so Zach tried to answer, misses it. They get the rebound, come down, score. So they're like, okay, well, we got to hit a three now because we're down by 5, and nobody can hit the shot.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at this Bulls team, I know that there are people who are going to say, like, if we are relying on Caruso and Javante, then this Bulls team has a lot of issues. However, we know the type of defensive havoc that the Bulls can put on teams when those two players are present. And, like, the numbers speak for themselves. And the way this Bulls team, because we we people keep like lamenting, we need to like rebound more. Well, we need a power forward because we don't actually have a power forward. I don't know if people like fully understand like just how much work that Patrick is doing at the defensive end. Like, people don't understand that he only outweighs Javante by 10 pounds. He is only 6'7", 215. He's going up routinely against guys who like outweigh him by at least 15 pounds or more. Like, to do that on the regular basis and switch as well as he does, and then like expect him to knock down open 3-point shots. Oh, and by the way, we need you to rebound also for us. Like, that's like a tall ask for a player who is really just in his second year. We need to find a way to make sure that we have those guys that we need healthy. And, a lot of people are forgetting about the impact that not having Ball on this team is really, it's putting them in a tight bind because you are having guys have to step up into positions that they weren't necessarily meant to be in. Now, I say all of that to say that the Bulls do obviously need to be better at rebounding. It needs to be like a concerted effort. There's too many times, and even during that Cavaliers game, which they didn't get out rebounded by that much, but there have been too many times in the past where shots will go up and you just have a bunch of players who are trying to get back on defense or just standing around watching the ball instead of doing the natural human reaction of, oh, there's a ball, I want to go get the ball. Like, that is definitely something that this Bulls team needs to continue to work on. But process is just as important as result. And I think that the Bulls can look at these past couple of games, and especially with this last game that they played, and get a better understanding of this is the type of effort that we are going to need to show on a nightly basis when we lace it up.
Yeah, and going back to Will Godley from CHGO put out an article and he talked to DeMar, and DeMar said, like, it'll start coming along for Patrick, but we're asking him to guard the best player every night.
Yeah.
It's a lot of energy spent on the defensive end of guarding the other team's best player. So that has to be considered. Like, Pat does a lot on the defensive end. And he has been knocking down shots, his threes more than usual. But they still really don't run plays for Patrick. Except for the other Cavs game, like the first 3 or 4 possessions were for Pat.
Yep.
That was it.
6 points. First 3 possessions resulted in 6 points. And then it was like, nope.
It's working. Let's change it.
There are so many, like, there are times that the Bulls do a very poor job of understanding moments, because even like with that third quarter, there were offensive plays that they were running where it was like obvious that the Cavs were packing the paint, trying to stop any type of offense going towards the basket. That's another thing that the Cavs did not get called for. There were plenty of times that players weren't guarding anybody. Like it's like, wait a minute, you have 4 guys just like all on one side of the court. Who are you guarding? But like, I guess we've moved on past that. But there's plenty of times where, because of the ability of Vooch to knock down open shots, I would like to see them do more screen actions at the top of the key, because like you saw it in that Cavs game a couple of times in the past 2 games, when Allen has to make a decision of staying on Vooch or guarding whoever the person with the ball is, whether or not is Zach or it was Ayo. They had that split second moment where they could make a good basketball play of getting to the rim, doing anything that you can to neutralize those big men and pull them out of the paint so that they don't have a shot blocker. And then you can send guys more to the basket or kick out for open threes. There are a lot more efficient ways that the Bulls can handle their offense, even without having a legitimate point guard on the floor, that I wish that they would capitalize. But again, going through this we all knew that this was going to be a work in progress, not having ball on the court and having guys have to step up into these roles. And we're seeing a lot of bumpiness that's going on with the offense and understanding who should be taking shots when and where. But there has been improvement, and I think that that's something that they can at least, hang their heads on.
Bigger picture, there has been improvement, especially, and we keep talking about it, but after the whole locker room incident, we end up coming out of that like 3. We talked about 3 losses, 3 L's, 5 dubs after that. So that's probably like the most consistent we've seen from our team like all season, in terms of like effort and energy too. But I don't know. I hope this game does not pull us in the wrong direction. I hope that what they saw from the first half of ball, of what they were doing, I hope that they can build off of that and not be too set back from what happened the rest of the game, which was out of their control. That's all I can hope for, because it was such beautiful basketball to watch them play the first half.
Yeah. And speaking of Justin, when you're talking about who should take shots at what time, I've seen a lot of people saying Zach needs to be taking some of these last shots. What do you guys think about that?
That's hard to say. I mean, we've always known DeMar to be king of the fourth and never afraid to take these clutch shots. I think it feels like with Zach, it's like if he's feeling it or not. I think it's like, to me, it's game by game with him, because he has to. If we can get him in those good positions and he's like feeling it, cool. But I don't know that it's I don't know that that's something that I can say for every game, that I would be confident to say that should be Zach's shot.
I'm not interested in like who takes a last shot. I'm interested in who's going to step up defensively. Now we talked about this before, about whose team this is, and like we said it in the last podcast, well, a couple of times, where like this is DeMar's team because of him, his shot making ability. This can still be Zach's team, and it is still Zach's team right now. I mean, he's the one who's making the most money, so this is his team. Like, and it could be solidified as it being his team if he does what he needs to do defensively. And I don't want to like get away from what you were saying, because it does, have some merit to it. Like, who is going to take, shots in certain situations? I think the Bulls just have to be a lot better at understanding what shot to take and when, no matter who's taking it. I mean, we look at those championships that have been like, you have like the championship that's hanging in the rafters over in your screen, Melissa. There's a lot of those shots that came down to people who weren't Michael Jordan or Scottie Pippen making some key last minute shots or last second shots. So I don't care who takes the last shot. I would like to see Zach get some opportunities, but like more smart opportunities. I don't want it to come down to anybody having to take, one-legged shots at towards the end of games. I don't think that that's necessarily, a recipe that you want to have to follow all the time. I know that DeMar has done a good job of being able to be that person who is making those shots, but that's going off of DeMar from last year. I don't know if anybody really has cemented themselves as far as being that, clutch player on a regular basis of just taking the last minute or last second shot. We saw Vooch hit a big time 3-point shot. I don't care who's taking the shot. Make the good basketball play and step up defensively. And that's the type of leadership that this team needs.
All right. So people's argument is Zach is the one who's going to be here longest. He should be groomed for these clutch moments, and he should get some of these last shots. My opinion is people didn't say when they knew Michael Jordan was getting the ball, they didn't say, oh, Scottie should take the last shot. Nobody was saying that. You knew Jordan was going to take the last shot, just like we knew DeMar's going to take the last shot. DeMar leads the league in clutch points and clutch field goals made. He's taking that shot as long as he's here. And that shouldn't surprise anybody. And Zach was asked about it, and he said he'd ride or die with DeMar taking the last shot.
Mhm.
Well, then that's your answer then. I mean, if Zach comes out and says that, I mean, that's basically like that kind of just shuts down.
But people still saying it.
I don't know. I mean, that year that Jordan took off, whose team was it? It was Pippen's team, right?
Yeah, it was Pippen's
Who was
team.
who was taking the clutch shots then?
Tony Kukoc.
So, I mean, people are going to say whatever they want to say about certain instances, but you can't go wrong either way. I mean, Zach has had some unbelievable plays. Like just coming to mind, like that Charlotte game where he made the ridiculous 3-pointer to end the game. It was a couple of years ago, off of that inbound steal or whatever. Like I can't remember the last action of the play. Zach has shown that he can make clutch shots before. But if he's saying, "Hey, he'll ride with DeMar," then like that just shuts down whatever anybody has to say. I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't even know that he said that, but I mean that
You'd say that. I saw that.
shut that argument up.
It's like until DeMar's gone, this is DeMar's team. It's kind of plain and simple. Even in like all the promotional stuff, DeMar's the one that's like front and center, and like the biggest picture on there is DeMar. He was cutting the turkey on the Thanksgiving artwork, so yeah, Zach will inherit it. But for now, it's
I hope he's
DeMar.
in the corner. He had that one really great game. It's like with Zach, it's just playing defense. He's great on his on-ball defense. His off-ball could use a little work, but it's like the effort. As long as like the effort is there, he can play defense. It's not like he can't. Like anybody can play defense, but he can play defense. He actually has pretty good on-ball defense. But that's all we need from him. That's what we need. He had that really great game. Which game was that against? He was doing like it was just like a few games ago. I don't remember what team we were playing.
When we had 43.
Mm-hmm. And he was locking people up on defense. He had a lot of great plays on both ends. But I mean, the effort was there throughout all 48. The whole time he was playing, the effort was there.
Effort was there last night too. So,
yeah.
But that's the thing. It's like we can have like you can have like those discussions, like the fact that like people are like, arguing over who should take the last shot on a team at 16-21. Like I think people like are forgetting what you need to focus on. I like, we've said before, Zach has shown that he is improved over the years as an on-ball defender. Like he's having a good turnaround, as comparatively speaking, from what we were seeing from him at the beginning of the year. Maybe that was due to injury. Maybe that was due to him not having that offseason to really get his body back into working condition. Who knows? The bottom line is Zach is playing a lot better defense, and if he can continue that, eventually, like you said, that with DeMar leaving, he's going to grow into that role even more. So it is what it is.
And it sets the tone for everybody else too. They see Zach like going all in on defense. Everybody else is going to play with more intensity on defense too. It's just how it goes. It's a trickle down effect.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, got the Nets next. And everybody gets started.
I don't know how to feel about them playing the Nets. Like we saw some great effort this past couple of games. And the Nets are coming in, they're playing hot. Like I think what have they won, like 11 in a row? 12 in a row, something like that?
I don't know. I just know that they're 25-12.
But I don't want, like, nobody should like really hang their head. Like the Bulls have shown this year that they can hang with top teams.
That's how I feel about it.
They beat Indiana. Indiana is a lot better than what people think. They beat, Miami. Miami's not a top team, but when I say top team, I'm talking about teams that like are going to be like in the playoffs. They've done a better job against those teams, and they've beaten Boston twice this year. They've beaten Milwaukee
Twice.
Yeah, so I'm not scared.
I really do think that they can do a lot with, and we talk about this every episode too. Like they have the talent's there. Again, it's just a matter of the effort, the entire game, effort on both ends, the entire game. If they can be in sync with each other, they have, if there's like synergy there, they're good. Like they have the talent, as long as they keep their head in the game, they remain mentally tough, taking out all the exterior factors of like terrible officiating. If they could just hang mentally and just stay locked in, I mean, they have talent for it. They have the talent to do it. I always say that I worry more about the Bulls and how they are going to be competing versus like the opponent. That's how I feel about it. I think I say that almost every episode too. I'm more worried about how the Bulls are going to come out versus who they're playing in most cases, because they have beat top teams, but then they've also done terrible against teams under 500. It's just really, to me, it's on them. I hope they come out of this one ready to go.
I'm more worried about the refs than anything. Will they allow us to play a fair game and win? Or are they covering the money line on the other team, so they have to make sure that we lose? I mean, obviously we're not going to be favored against the Nets, so you kind of got to watch out for the officials. Same thing with the game after that when we have to play Philly.
We're playing Philly.
Yeah.
Philly, those teams, like Philly always gives the Bulls a hard.
Yeah. That's one of those exception teams that, like, in that case, I'm a little bit more worried about the opponent than the Bulls.
Embiid is undefeated in his career against us. And that has to come to an end. It just has to. Because most of those wins were when we were rebuilding.
At some point, we did win in Milwaukee. Haven't done that in a long time. So, but I look at that Nets team, and the Nets have beaten a lot of teams that they should have beaten. Like their schedule has not been like the hardest schedule. I know people will turn to like them with their coaching change and Kyrie coming back and playing more games. They've been beating on a lot of teams that they should be beating. And even like with this last loss, I still feel like if Caruso doesn't foul out, like we still find a way to come out of that game with a win. I am comfortable having a healthy Caruso to be able to sick on Kyrie Irving and also Ayo. Ayo is one of our better on ball defenders too, and just not like stop him, but slow him down because you're not going to stop a majority of these players from getting their shots up. But I hope that it doesn't start to get into their heads that the officials are against us. I don't generally find that to be the case. I find it to be like the team that's willing to impose their will on a game is the one that gets rewarded with calls. Even despite the nonsense that happened last night with Donovan Mitchell, if you go out there and you play your game and you just impose your will, more often than not, good things are going to happen for you. So, but I'm not liking that Philly game. Like, I don't know if we come out with a win with that one.
We got Utah after that, who's like started off hot and they're falling off. Boston again, and then the Wizards. These should be some winnable games.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna take the L against Philly. I think we can win the other games.
Got the offense to do it. It's not like the Nets have a whole bunch of great like defenders to stop anybody. Kyrie Irving does not play defense. They're still relying on Ben Simmons, who has played better this year, but it's not like they're necessarily stopping teams from scoring. The Bulls just have to go out there and play their game, and they can be successful. Again, I don't look at them getting a win versus Philly because we never win against Philly, but I like our chances versus the teams that you mentioned that are coming up on the schedule.
So 3-1, 3-1?
Yeah, I think so. Goran will be back, right? He just sat out last game.
Yeah, he played
That's rest. He should be back.
last night. Dragic played last night.
Did he? I didn't even know this.
I say we finally break the curse. I'm going 4-0.
You think we're beating Philly?
I'm going 4-0.
Where's that game going to be played at?
It's in Philly. Does it really matter? we don't get home court advantage, so they screw us out of wins on our home floor. So it doesn't matter where it's at. I have to say we finally break the damn curse of Joel Embiid because I'm sick of losing to him.
Me too.
Joel does like to talk garbage to like the Bulls whenever he plays.
I'm sick of him.
Stupid meme.
Sick of him. So yeah, I'm going 4-0.
4-0?
4-0.
I can't ride with 4-0, but 3-1, I can get on board with 3-1. You could talk me into 3-1.
Don't let me down, Bulls. 4-0.
Tony Brothers officiating any of those?
He better not be.
And the petition.
Right. The petition is on my Twitter to fire Tony Brothers from the NBA. I'm sick of his criminal injustices against teams and players. There's no way the Chris Paul should be winless in any playoff games that have been reffed by him. It's like 0-15 or 16, something like that. There's no odds that would mathematically allow that.
Yeah,
Sign petition. So yeah, who is Philly's backup center?
they have a backup center. I know, like they have PJ Tucker, but I don't know of them having a backup center, like somebody who is there a legit backup center. That's a good question.
Let Drummond go to work and show Philly that they should have never traded him.
Be really nice to get him in foul trouble.
Get who in foul trouble?
Indeed.
Oh,
That'd be fun.
Not likely.
Correct.
We don't get calls.
I'll root for Drummond as long as he shows back up on our podcast.
Yeah, Dre. So if you hear this, we still expect you to come on, as you said you would.
I shouldn't say shows back, like show up for the podcast.
Like I said, can't blame them after last night, but yeah, in the future, like near future,
Next week.
winning cures all. So
That is
win games, and then
Big facts.
we can try again. But yeah, until next time, go Bulls.
Go Bulls.
Go Bulls.
Then it's game over. The horn blows.